Bem-vindo ao canal. Hoje vamos falar de experiências de quase morte, desde a religião até a ciência. Se está aqui é porque te interessas ou pelo menos é um curioso do assunto. Vem comigo.
Jim Woodford, an ambitious, self-made man, earned the nickname Diamond Jim. He was focused on providing a life of luxury for his family.
Nothing was too big of a problem. He could fix it.
I thought that was my way of showing her how much I loved her, cared for our family, was by providing everything that I could.
But Lorraine, a Christian, prayed for something more.
God, please change his heart. Bring him to know Jesus Christ and just make a change in him and deal with this materialistic way.
Over the years, the money and materialism had started to consume Jim as he pulled away from his family.
I'd wake up in the middle of the night and I would say to myself, is this all there is?
At 61 years old, Jim was diagnosed with Guillain-Barré syndrome, a rare incurable disease resulting in chronic pain.
Unremitting electrical current pain in every part of my body, accompanied with paralyzing inability to move.
For the next 5 years, Jim relied on prescription meds to manage the pain.
He was just getting to be a very angry person. The pain was just consuming him.
Never once, and this speaks to the arrogance, did I reach inside or look up to the sky and say, God, if you exist, help me out here. Not me, not Diamond Jim.
In April 2014, Lorraine said a desperate prayer for Jim's heart.
I said, God, I've been praying, but I haven't seen any change. Maybe you just have to break him to remake him. But be careful what you pray for.
Later that month, after taking more than 4 times his dosage, Jim went to inspect a field he was planning to sell. He says while sitting in his truck, he felt a growing, burning sensation in his legs.
And suddenly I realized I couldn't breathe, and it was as though the cab of the truck was filling with water. As I'm about to draw my last breath, from somewhere inside of me that I didn't even know existed, I cried out, God, forgive me. Forgive me.
When Jim didn't come home, Lorraine called the police. He was found in his truck unresponsive and was rushed to the hospital. Lorraine rallied friends and family to pray.
The head doctor came out and he said, your husband is severely brain damaged. There's no brain activity there. And he said, we have him on full life support because his organs have all shut down. He said, there is no way to bring him back. I was apologizing for praying what I prayed, but I didn't know it would come to this.
There was something else she didn't know. Since the attack, Jim had been experiencing a very different reality.
I look to the right and there's this incredible vista of beautiful flowers and meadows. And I turn my vision to the left and that beautiful green grass went from green to brown to scorched to black and dropped off in a crevasse. I saw the most hideous creature you could ever imagine. And I fell back in abject terror, the look of hatred in its eyes for me and all of mankind. But at this point, I turned toward the light and I raised both hands this time and I cried out, God, help me, help me.
Then, Jim says 3 angels came and took him through heaven.
And I realized I was looking at none other than Jesus Christ, the Son of God. And he looked at me with those violet eyes, and all I heard was, James, what did you do with the life my master gave you? I had no answer. But as I looked into his eyes and he smiled at me, he knew me. I saw such intense love and forgiveness for me who deserved nothing. And that was the moment I was his forever. Whatever was about to become of me, I was his. I loved him, and he loved me.
Jim says he wanted to stay, but Jesus had other plans for him.
Go back and tell your brothers and sisters of the wonders we have shown you. Suddenly, I'm in a cold hospital room on a gurney, screaming at the top of my lungs, scared the daylights out of some of the nurses.
And a nurse came out and said, Mrs. Woodford, can you come here with me? And I thought, he's gone.
I'm just overwhelmed that I'm seeing Lorraine again. I said, look, Lorraine, I saw Jesus, and Jesus has horses.
The more I could talk to him and know that he was sane, I knew God had restored him.
Lorraine realized God had also answered her prayer to break Jim, to remake him.
He was focused on Jesus, and he became much gentler.
And while Jim still has the markers of Guillain-Barré syndrome, he has been completely pain-free. Today, Jim is intent on telling everyone he can about salvation in Jesus Christ.
You have to open the door of your heart to let him in, and the door of my heart has now been opened.
Alguns cientistas também tentam explicar o fenômeno a partir da hipóxia, estado de baixo teor de oxigênio nos tecidos orgânicos. Para esses pesquisadores, a falta de oxigênio é capaz de gerar algumas das características das experiências quase morte. Contudo, na visão do neurologista, a hipóxia causa alterações assustadoras e situações de terror e medo nos indivíduos. Totalmente diferente da sensação de paz registrada pela grande maioria das pessoas que passaram por experiências de quase morte, diz o especialista. Além disso, há outras teorias como a do excesso de dióxido de carbono ou excesso de glutamina, que também barram os pressentimentos ruins, e a do acúmulo de endorfina, que gera uma sensação de extrema paz por horas, e não segundos, como a das experiências quase morte. Teorias facilmente contestáveis, afirma Ribeiro, que acredita que a explicação deve ir além da obviedade e do reducionismo da ciência. Eles não devem fechar as janelas para o que não compreendem. Não são Deus. Devem assumir que não sabem e pesquisar.
This woman has she's being operated on. She has a near-death experience. She's up above her body. She's looking down. She's watching herself. And sometimes they don't even know it's them because they identify with who's up by the ceiling. That's their point of consciousness. And on the top of this medical device that was in the room, hospitals often rivet numbers like offices do to keep track of typewriters and to keep track of things. She looked down and there was a 12-digit number riveted onto the top of this medical thing. And she said, I'm OCD. And so I memorized the 12-digit number. As soon as she comes to, she says to the nurse, write this down. Now, I'm not saying this is a number, but it's like, write this down, 675-21600. 12 numbers. And the nurse wrote it down. And they were later moving the apparatus out of the room. And the nurse jumps in and says, whoa, 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 wait a minute. Let me get my sheet out. Wow, the number's exactly right. Now, she sees that in a state, and many of these people, when you have a cardiac arrest with ventricular fibrillation, this particular species of cardiac arrest, you have no measurable heart waves, and within an average of 15 seconds, you have no brain waves. So if she was out of her body for as long as 5 minutes, she theoretically has no heart or brain waves. How does she know? How does she know to repeat that data? How does she know what's up there? So that's one well-evidenced one. Boy, people ask me, they'll say, well, I'll say, what kind of evidence do you want? I'll give you. Another one is a real fast one. A guy had surgery. He was up above his body watching the doctors do this, but he got maybe a little bored. I don't know. He started drifting a little bit, looking around. He went through a wall into the next surgical ward, and he watched a guy having his leg amputated. So he gives an explanation of what happens in the room with the leg amputation because I saw it, but you're on that bed. Yeah, but I'm telling you, I saw it. How do you know? Here's some explanation. I'm making up what he might have said, but he could have said, well, all the nurses in the room had white uniforms on, except for this one. She had a pale green uniform on. I mean, something like that. Or these are actual cases. In one, a person dropped a beaker on the floor and it broke, and the person watched it. Or in another one, a woman's pin fell off her dress, and a doctor stepped on it. And the near-death person said, I know who lost the pen, and I can name the doctor who stepped on it because I saw it. So these are data, and many times in the absence of heart and brain, any kind of activity, measurable. And so it seems like we're talking about, here's the point, we're talking about consciousness beyond the initial death of heart and brain. Now, it's near death because the person comes back from it, but during those minutes, while they're out, it's highly evidential.
Obrigada por assistir. Por hoje, é tudo. Inscreva-se e carrega no like. E até o próximo vídeo.